We continue now at the top of Daf Kuf Aleph and Beis and Meseches Bava Basra. This is Bava Basra Daf 101b. And the previous Amud, the Gemara was discussing the sheet of Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon said that when you're building these caves for burials, so you're going to have the two kuchen, one on the right and one on the left as you enter. And the Gemara's question was exactly what is the placement of those two kuchen. The first suggestion of the Gemara was that those kuchen extend underneath the chutzner. Now that would be problematic because the Mishnah says that the chutzner was actually an area that was tahar, and therefore it can't be that there's any mace underneath. Then the Gemara suggested that maybe these were vertical kuchen and the mason were buried upright, but the Gemara says that can't be because Rabbi Yochanan says kivuras chamorim hizu. That's like a burial of donkeys. It's inappropriate that you bury people standing vertically. And the Gemara says Rabbi Yochanan. So the Gemara answers according to Rabbi Yochanan, the way that you form these two kuchen, again the one on the right and the one on the left, is da'avid lehu bekeren zavis, that you make it as though it is in the corner. And the Rashbam here explains, we're going to go with the explanation of the Rashbam that's down on the page. The Rashbam says, Hilka chachim mefarshi law, therefore we should explain it as follows, Da'avid lehu bekeren zavis mamish, you make it mamish in the corner, meaning you enter the cave over here, and in the back corner, you're going to have these two kuchen, that's what we're referring to. Again, Da'avid lehu bekeren zavis mamish me'achore ha'ma'ara, at the back of the cave, v'lo letzad pesach b'shnei ha'zavis, and not at the entrance, but really in the back, shekeneged ha'pesach chatzi ha'koch b'kosel zeh, v'chatzi ha'koch b'kosel zeh, you're going to essentially have half of it along this wall and half of it along the back wall. Same with this one. You're going to have half of it along the side wall and half of it along the back wall. That's what it means on the right of the doorway and the left. It doesn't literally mean the doorway. The katani masnisim, because that means, again, in this formulation, that's what the Gemara means to say. But the Gemara continues, v'hanagi kuchen lahadadi, but won't the kuchen touch one another if you put them diagonally in the corner? We'll see the Rashbam in a moment. Amar Ravashi says, b'maimik, you make it a little deeper than the one next to it. The ilote mahachi, because if you don't say that, arba ma'aros l'Rabbi Shimon, according to Rabbi Shimon, you have 4 caves within this chatzir. So hechiyavilu, how do you construct them? Hakanagi kuchen lahadadi, you're going to have the same problem that the kuchen are going to touch one another. Ela b'maimik, you have to say that some are deeper than the others. Hachanami b'maimik, here also you have to say that some are deeper than the others. And the Rashbam explains, Umakshinan, and the Gemara asks, V'hakanagi kuchen shel zavishne haksalim b'hadi hadadi, won't the kuchen that are in the corners, they'll end up touching each other if you have this diagonally in the back. V'havelu shlosha kuchen zebesoch zeh, you're going to have 3 kuchen, one in the other, l'chol zavis v'zavis at each corner. Da'ach kuch devikaren mechaber kuch shemikan shehu chatzi yama rachik min hakaren besof kosel mizrachi. This kuch that's diagonal, it's going to connect. It's going to attach the one that's in the eastern side at the corner. It's just a half an arm away from the corner. Kuch shebesof kosel dromi, and also there's a kuch on the southern side that's just a half an amma away from the corner. Shein ben kuch zeh lekuch zeh el chatzi amma v'alachsona. All you have is just a half an amma by half an amma with the diagonal, meaning to say this kuch over here is just a half an amma from the corner, and this kuch over here is just a half an amma from the corner. If you're going to put another one over here diagonal, you're essentially going to connect all 3 of them, and that should be problematic. Meshani b'maimik, the Rashbam continues that the Gemara answers that you make this one a little bit deeper than the other ones. Well, lefikach oso sam l'sham, and the reason why you put them in the corner is shekol ma shenichnas hakuch shebekeren bekarka misrachik min hakuchen shemikan mikan harbe. That way, if you put it in the corner, because the Rashbam is addressing the fact if it's deeper, then you should be able to put it anywhere. But the Rashbam is saying no, you make it a little deeper, and also now that it's diagonal, so the further in you get, the farther away it gets from the ones in the corner, and that's why it's not going to be a problem. Again, misrachik min hakuchen shemikan mikan harbe. But to put it anywhere else is problematic. It's going to end up touching along the entire sides. Rashbam says this seems to be the correct pshat. Because if you don't say this, and if you're going to say that all of the kuchen are exactly at the same level, none are deeper than the others, none are higher than the others, so how do you have 4 caves according to Reb Shimon? You have, let's say, a ma'ara over here and a ma'ara over here. Here's the problem. One kuch is going to overlap the other. It has to be that one is deeper than the other. As the Rashbam continues, V'kanagi kuchen hadadi kuch shel ma'ara mizrachis shebekeren dromis ma'aravis. Let's say you're in the eastern cave and you have the kuch that's in the corner, the southwestern corner. Rachachatzi am and azavitz. It's a half an arm away from the corner. Nichnasul soch kuch shel ma'ara dromis. So it's going to end up entering the kuch in the ma'ara dromis in the southern cave. Ba'osa shebekosel mizrachis shebekeren mizrachis Tzifonus, and the one that's in the northeastern corner. Because just like this diagram, you're going to have this problem over here. If they're all just a half an am away from the corner, again, one is going to enter the other, and that's why you have to say that one of these is deeper than the other, and the same idea we'll say over here as well. And the Gemara continues, Rav Huna Breid Rav Yoshua Amar, Rav Huna the son of Rav Yoshua says, Arba Ma'oros Rabbi Shimon, these 4 caves for Rabbi Shimon, Do'avid Lehu Kecherusa, they make them like the leaves of a palm branch. And the Rashbam over here shows a diagram. Essentially what the Gemara is suggesting is, if you have a cave over here and a cave over here, the way they do not overlap, the way you avoid this problem, is you have them all be diagonally. They're all like the leaves that we find on a palm branch. That's the suggestion here of Rav Huna Breid Rav Yoshua. But the Gemara says it doesn't work. V'had Rav Huna Breid Rav Yoshua bedusahi. But this suggestion of Rav Huna Breid Rav Yoshua, the suggestion should not be taken seriously, because Michti, let us see, Kol Amsa Beribua, every Amma, when you have a square, Amsa Utrei that's actually going to be an amma in 2/5 in the diagonal. And what that means to say is, for example, let's say you had a square, let's say this was a square. If this was an amma and this was an amma, so then the diagonal would, again, it would be 1 amma and 2/5 of an amma. And so therefore the Gemara continues, Kama havalu, so how much total diagonal are you going to have in our case? Chad asari v'chumshi, you're actually going to have 11 1/5. Kuchen kama hava, now how much are the kuchen? There's tmanya, there are 8 kuchen. Tmanya b'chad asari v'chumsha hechi mashkachas. How are you going to fit 8 kuchen in just 11 1/5? It would not work. And the idea over here is that if you have this ma'ara, this cave, so the length of this cave over here is going to be 8 amos, and the length over here is going to be 8 amos as well. So then if you're drawing the diagonal, that's going to be 11 1/5. Now 11 1/5, to be able to fit 8 kuchen in 11 1/5 space is not going to fit. That's what the Gemara is saying. And so therefore the Gemara says, Elohad Rav Huna Breid Rav Yoshua Berusa, rather you have to say that which Rav Huna Breid Rav Yoshua said is Berusa is an error. If you have a resh over there, Berusa means it's an error. If you have a dalid Bedusa, it means it's something not to be taken seriously. And the Gemara continues, V'bay Seim, if you want, I could say another answer. Kedam Rav Shisha Breid Ravidi, it's like Rav Shisha, the son of Ravidi, said, Benifli, when we're talking about these diagonals over here, you're not talking about burying a full-size dead body, you're talking about a nafil, you're talking about a miscarriage, you're talking about a fetus in such a situation. It could be much smaller. Hachanami benifli, the same thing over here. We're going to say we're talking about a nafil over here, and that's how this diagonal one could fit, because it would be smaller than the regular kuchen. And the Gemara continues, Tanan Hasam, we learned in a Mishnah over there, this is a Mishnah in Meseches Nazir, Hamotzi Meis Mushkav Kedarka, let's say a person finds a dead body, and the dead body is lying in the normal manner of Jewish burial, Notlo V'es Tfusa, so you can take it and the surrounding earth. You don't have to assume that this is a hidden cemetery, you just take away that mace. Same thing with Shnaim, let's say you find 2 mesim, Notlon V'es Tfusas, and you take them, and you take the surrounding earth, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Kuf Beis Amud Aleph.